What if everything we know about human intelligence is about to be outmatched by a machine that doesn't even understand what it's doing? Have you heard the phrase, "Math is cooked"? I heard this recently on a podcast. Honestly, I agree with it. Now, to be fair, I heard it on a podcast is not exactly the strongest argument in the world. But there is a lot more to this story. Why is everyone suddenly so obsessed with solving obscure math problems? You know, the kind of problems that almost nobody had ever heard of before? Let me try to convince you why this might actually be the biggest thing ever. Today, we need to talk about what AI has been doing to mathematics recently. But more importantly, we need to look at how humans are reacting to it. And what is likely to come next. Here is a quote that should make you pause. A physicist and computer scientist named Alexander Wisner-Gross recently commented on this AI takeover. He said that even at our current pace, we are talking about essentially all professional, research-grade math problems being solved in the next 4 or 5 years. Let that sink in for a second. So, math is cooked. I will say it a second time, math is absolutely cooked. Wisner-Gross is definitely not the only one who sees this coming. Things are moving incredibly fast now. Just look at the timeline. Over the past 4 years, large language models have progressed in math at an unbelievable speed. They basically went from not being able to add 2 and 2 to solving complex math Olympiad problems. And then, they started solving research problems that almost nobody outside of academia cares about. But then, something changed. Just a couple of weeks ago, for the very first time, a large language model solved a reasonably well-known math problem. Now, here is the catch. The model they used is not publicly available. It is an internal, top-secret OpenAI model. Which is honestly a bit disappointing, because we can't play with it ourselves. It also makes you wonder, what exactly is OpenAI planning to do with this? The problem this model solved was first proposed by the legendary mathematician Paul Erdos 80 years ago. The solution made massive headlines. Why? Well, mostly because the problem is actually easy to understand. Even for normal people. Imagine you put a bunch of dots on a flat sheet of paper. How do you have to place them so that you get the maximum number of paths that have the exact same distance between them? Erdos guessed that the answer would be a neat, clean grid, a square lattice. But he never managed to prove it. Well, the OpenAI model proved him wrong. It found a counterexample. And here is where it gets crazy. It allegedly solved it on the very first attempt. A complete one-shot. OpenAI also decided to run some tests. They wanted to see how often the model could find the correct answer if they gave it enough computing time. They found that the model got it right about 99% of the time. Now, don't get me wrong. The model is still not great at checking its own logic. But it is clearly not just randomly outputting academic-looking nonsense, which is honestly more than I can say for some scientific papers I have read. So, how are real mathematicians reacting to this? Well, they are not taking it well. Here are some actual quotes from the community. One mathematician said, "I find this existentially upsetting. I see myself shriveling to nothing. I am saddened." Another wrote, "It may be the case that within the decade, reasoning models will outperform the greatest living mathematicians. We are cooked." And another simply said, "This is the best proof to come out in a year, we are completely done." The computer scientist Scott Aronson shared a story about this. He heard the news about an hour after it broke. Some graduate students came into his office to tell him. He said those students were completely miserable. They were literally wondering if their careers were over before they had even started. That is what makes academia so special, right? In the corporate world, people worry that AI will take their jobs. In academia, they worry that AI will take their jobs before they can even get hired. But here is the most fascinating part of this entire proof. Almost every human mathematician believed that Erdos was right. They thought the square lattice was the correct answer. The counterexample that the AI came up with was this incredibly weird, unintuitive, slightly ugly structure. It is the exact kind of messy construction that a human mind would probably never think of. It is not that the machine is smarter than us, it is just that it has worse taste. So, is mathematics truly dead? Well, maybe we are exaggerating a little bit. Because guess what? It took only a few hours after the news broke for a human being to take the ARIS result and improve it. There is also a lot of pushback against this doomsday scenario. In fact, a group of 150 mathematicians just signed a formal declaration. They warned that these rapid developments are putting the independence of mathematics under threat. They also pointed out something very important. Right now, tech companies have a massive financial incentive to hype up their products. They want to make their AI look as powerful as possible. And that explains a lot, doesn't it? It explains why the mainstream media is suddenly writing huge stories about math, when usually they cannot be bothered to write about math at all. It is basically a form of geopolitical posturing, a bit of saber-rattling directed at competitors abroad. Personally, I do not think mathematics is going to end. Not at all. What we are actually going to see is a massive shift. Mathematicians are going to start using AI-supported techniques as standard tools. Think about it. The existing mathematical literature already contains an absolute mountain of information. There are so many hidden connections, proofs, and conclusions just waiting to be discovered by something that can digest and analyze data at lightning speed. AI can run through thousands of proof attempts in the blink of an eye. There are probably so many low-hanging fruits just waiting to be picked, just like this recent Erdo's counterexample. We're going to see a lot more of this very soon. But here is the real, open question. Can AI actually go beyond just finding patterns in human work? Can it do more than just fill in the blanks of what we have already written? Can it actually invent entirely new mathematical methods on its own? Personally, I still believe that large language models are not going to get us there. So, yes, math might be cooked. But only partially. Let us call it al dente. One-shotting an advanced math problem is incredibly impressive, there is no denying that. But I will truly be amazed when these models can finally explain to normal, everyday people why they should actually care about it. What do you think? Are we looking at the end of human mathematical creativity, or is this just a powerful new calculator that will push us to think in entirely new ways? I am really curious to hear your perspective on this, so let me know what you think.